never met nobody like me. I'm just too stupid to get out of your way.
Well, working for CNN doesn't give him a whole lot of credibility, in my
Well,
opinion.
we just doing a little homework, reading some of his writings. And this was way back a year and a half ago with the COVID stuff, and he was writing about shutting people down.
It's not on yet.
Shutting people down and whatnot. And he said the two worst news agencies were Fox and CNN. We called out names and quite a lot of opinions. What stuff on Main Street?
Yeah, about canceling events.
Oh.
What idiot did this, and I'll find out because I know how to do FOIA. And I'm like, okay, we're not a federal agency, but you go ahead and do FOIA.
You bought Bob Bradley's house, up on 4th Street, the nice house that's been for sale for 15 years on the left up there, way in the back,
Yeah.
That one that backs up to the
substation.
substation.
You could say that if you'd been there for 15 years, it might be the electromagnetic waves that are causing some of this, but we can't
Did you
blame
have
that.
Somebody called me after I have questions complained about those black things, the black caskets out there across one concrete place.
Which aren't there anymore.
What, she called you recently about that?
Yesterday. Yes, you are live. Those things
We gotta wait on the camera.
caskets died with COVID.
Yeah.
They buried on that.
No shit.
Died with COVID there.
Yeah, I don't know, we're live.
Yeah, that stuff pops up on Twitter all the time. I see it.
Why do you get this way?
Just because there's YouTube videos from 10 years ago that are still up, and so people see them, and
That's old.
it's old. They're not even there anymore.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is she our legal person over there?
She wanted to stay away from all these wires.
She's moved from over here, now you got your law degree, young lady?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Rick is not coming. He called this morning, he's under the weather, and I thought that the council know we got a quorum this morning, so he didn't feel safe coming in, so I told him to stay home and take care of himself, So that's just us. Good morning. We're going to call our meeting to order. Thank our council members for coming in on this call meeting this morning. If you have cell phones, council members, I would ask that you please turn them off at this time. And we will stand and have pledge of allegiance by Council Member Lathan and prayer by Council Member Reed.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would like to pray with us this morning, would you please remain standing? Dear God of us all, we thank you for this day, a day that you have made, a day, Lord, that we should all rejoice and be glad in. Thank you for this time. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for this great city. We place this agenda before you on today and ask that you allow us to make decisions based on behalf of the citizens. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I called meeting this morning. We have nothing on the agenda but just a couple of contracts to approve this morning. We would go with our city manager, if you would just explain these to us, if you would.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I thank the elected officials for coming this morning on the call meeting. And the reason for getting together a little quicker is we have a contractor that's ready to move. He's ready to move in to set up a construction trailer, to put up a construction fence, and actually get started on this project. And when a contractor's ready to move, I'm ready to get out of his way. And you heard about the project. You've seen some details. You've asked some questions, and thank you for that. As you know, this first one that we're going to talk about is the City Hall, and it's a large one. It's a very large project. It is, what you see. People ask me, you adding any space or adding anything? No. It's the original building going back pretty much to its original form and footprint. It is going to be a top shelf, first rate renovation and restoration of that building. It won't spare any details. I mean, it's not going to be grandiose, but it's going to be faithful, and the workmanship and the craftsmanship will be first rate. It'll be what the city demands of other folks. It is what the city tries to do itself. The documents before you are AIA, American Institute of Architects, documents that lay out. The first one you see there, I'm not going to go through them in detail because they probably have some things some details or some legalese and boilerplate stuff that would bore us all to tears. But our general contractor is GE Garbett Construction Company out of Dublin, Georgia. They went through the process, the two-step process of being picked from a group, vetted, and then made a proposal to the city, including their approach, their schedule, their price, and then a committee of staff, professionals, and elected officials made the decision to go with GE Garbett. As you can remember, this project has a guaranteed maximum of over $2 million. That's not to say that's where it will end up, but that's as much as it's going to be. I think they have done, an architect and the contractor have done an exhaustive job of checking to see what all is there, what all is not there, what has to be done on the project. So once they get started, they will submit all invoices. I mean, to start with, they will submit like shop drawings and proposals for different things. So cabinetry and trim and windows and all these things. The city, the architect and the city staff will have input on all these things. There may be final decisions and fine decisions made, not major things, but the details will be worked out as we go. This type of arrangement gives flexibility. If there are items that there's some efficiencies or some things that can be done to save the city money, they're certainly going to be taken advantage of. Whether they're materials, whether there's approaches, ways to do things, that we will take advantage of that. Again, the architect will be involved. We've engaged Joe Smith, and Arc Collab will be involved in the process. City staff, of course, will be. We anticipate this to be just about 12 months. They said they could probably do it in about 10 months, but I think this contract contemplates a 12-month period, just to build in some time. Just on the physical side, just to let you know about what's going to go on, they're going to put up a construction fence. This street will be closed down to the driveway of the probation office. The sidewalk in this entrance into this building will remain open. They'll have a construction trailer, an office here on the street and a parking space. And then the alley on the other side will be closed as well. So there'll be staging there and working from that side. I've already talked to the chamber, I've talked to the Welcome Center, I've talked to the other offices that utilize Jones, Ewan, Dobbs, and Tamplin, and Madison Realty, that their parking spaces won't be available to them. We may work out some other details about where they can go and not have to park on the street, but we'll get those done. But I'll answer any questions you have. Hopefully you've had a chance to review these documents. Again, they're quite extensive and quite voluminous, but I'll try to answer any questions if you have any.
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, just the contractor fee is $146,648. It's in paragraph 5.1. It says the contractor's fee $146,648.
I will rely on that as a percentage of the final, yes, sir.
Well, I
That's what it
thought
said.
that was fair. If we're doing $2 million project,
Yes, sir.
that's only a 7.5% contractor fee, which is
Seems to
usually
be
very,
reasonable.
very reasonable,
Yes.
considering most of the time they try for 15.
All right.
So I thought that was, because it just basically says it's,
Well, and we also have a partner that's actually going to be a sub in this, is Landmark out of Savannah. I think they're out of Savannah. And they're going to do a lot of the exterior on the building. And when I was at GMA at the convention, there's a federal building, a quite substantial federal building with marble or granite columns right on Bay Street, and Landmark's banner is hanging on that building. It's all the scaffolding, and you saw that. And so Landmark is very good at what they do, so it's good to have Garbett themselves and Landmark, but I just wanted to add that as well.
Is that Landmark component built into this?
It's built
number?
into Garbett's side. We don't contract directly with them,
Okay.
but they're going to do a lot of the exterior work, I think the windows, the brickwork that needs to be done, some of the concrete ledgers and whatnot that have to be replaced, quite a bit of that, maybe some of the roofing, the flashing, the cupola up on top.
Couple of money questions, if I could, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
So it looks like 2.308871 is the total. Underneath that is risk contingency of $67,000.
Yes, sir.
Would that be like an overage, or is that part of the 2.3 million we're talking about? It's down there towards the end.
It says allowances, if any, included in the guaranteed maximum price, and it just said risk contingency 67,000. So I take that as saying that that's inclusive, that's already
Okay.
built in and baked into the 2.3.
All right.
There's no reason why they wouldn't do that, and then that's just a small percentage.
And so that number then of 2.309 million, is that the amount that we generally looked at when we put
Yes.
this on SPLOST? We're not-
No, it wasn't. We had a general number in SPLOST that was what we carved out, I think it was over $1 million. So we didn't contemplate this much money. We spent $250,000 or so on the Smith building in the planning department. If that gives you any idea of the cost of construction for doing a building, that was a overhaul of that building, mechanical wire and plumbing, the whole thing. So that $250,000 or so came out of that same SPLOST. So we just put as much money into buildings as we could. With City Hall, we always knew that we had SPLOST money for buildings, which I'm sorry, Karen is not here, she's off today, but we do have money in SPLOST for this, but not enough money, not in the current SPLOST that we're in. We had some in the first, the second, and the third, but not enough to do all of this. The remainder will be, and I'll talk a little bit about the cash flow and the financing for this, but the remainder will be a combination of SPLOST, perhaps SPLOST in the next round, the future SPLOST, but utilities, gas, water, sanitation, wastewater, they need to pay their own share, just like they paid for the majority of the Public Works building. It was over $2 million over a 10-year period. So those numbers will be built in to their budgets to help fund this. The plan is, Karen and I have talked about, for cash flow and just to spread this large expense out over a period of time. It's likely to go with a GMA lease purchase for bricks and mortar for probably a 10-year period. It'll be very similar to the Public Works building. Again, you budget it every year. It's very predictable. It's a level stream of payout. You can use a combination of SPLOST funds and utilities to pay that off and make the payment every year. Probably about $300,000 based on the interest rate and based on a 10-year term on 2.3 to 2.4 million.
So the funding is primarily the existing SPLOST plus hopefully the next SPLOST plus the loan from.
The loan plus the utilities.
Plus utilities.
Plus utilities, yes. It'll be a
Enterprise.
combination.
Is that
And
the
that's
enterprise fund?
enterprise fund. And that's certainly, that's appropriate. That's fair. I mean, that this building serves all the city, both, you know, its general function, its general funds, administrative, all of the general stuff, plus the utilities or the enterprise funds.
And it's contracted, as I think was mentioned earlier, for 1 year for completion. Do we have a guess as when the start date would be?
They wanted to move in last week.
So as soon as we approve it,
Yes,
they're
yes,
ready to
you'll
go?
see the fence go up, you'll see the trailer get here. They'll start demo work, I think, pretty quick, but I'm impressed so far with Garbett. I've known some people that work for them, I've seen some of their projects, their list of governmental projects and their list of, and I'm not here to sell them, but just to give you an idea of some things. They worked extensively in Milledgeville for the Georgia College on their buildings. They did a 6-story building in Dublin, you know, the old bank building in Dublin. When you drive through, it's now Georgia Military College has their campus in that building. Very impressive.
nice.
They were the contractor for that.
Very nice.
So their list of projects is
Yeah, maybe.
impressive.
You can go to their website and they've got a nice array of projects they've done. A lot of them with the historic preservation component
Yes,
that
a
we need.
lot
here,
of
so
brick and
that's
plaster,
encouraging.
and I think and plus with Landmark and our architect, they have a emphasis on historic preservation. And again, this building, this City Hall building from the 30s to currently 80-plus years has served the city well. It's a well-built, very substantial building. I've said it before. There are many, many cities in Georgia, not disparaging other sister cities, but that wouldn't think about investing this into a building like that. They would scrape it off and start over. I mean, it just that's the fact. But Madison's not any other city, and I appreciate that.
And the city manager and I was fortunate to serve to sit on the committee, and we was very impressed with the work. Because you've seen that on the website, you have, but we was very impressed with the work they do on historic buildings. So I hope is that I was hoping that our city manager would get to sit in his new office before.
Maybe the new person will let me walk in and look around. I'll be nosy.
Still,
I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say we're all gonna be proud of what the product is.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed working there for 30 years, and it's a great old building. And the fact that it's going to get a new lease on life and get freshened up with new mechanical, when somebody turns on the heater to warm their feet, the breaker's not going to trip. And all of the systems, the ceilings will go back to their original height. Those big impressive windows in that courtroom will be there again, light shining in that. It's going to be something to see.
So it looks like then that we will be leasing the property that you're now in for another year, I
Yes,
guess?
sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I've already talked to the owner. She's thrilled. She said, "You can just stay there forever if you need to." I said, "Well, we won't need it. We'll."
I'm sure she will.
She's been very easy to work with, and she's quite fine. We may bring back and freshen up that lease. Excuse me. Just.
Please turn off your phones.
Well, he said councilman, evidently didn't apply to the
Oh,
mayor.
that's the mayor, that's right.
But that space is working out very, very well. And Mr. Mayor, again, I give you credit for that. You know, we were looking for a place we were thinking about shoehorning ourselves into this building or that building or splitting up or going somewhere downtown, and you mentioned that. And if we didn't have a good place to come back to, that is a nice location.
It is nice.
The customers like it, the employees, I think, love it.
And I have a whole new appreciation for grass cloth interiors.
Yeah, back in style, as the
Back
owner
in
says.
style, exactly.
But I would ask that you approve the package of documents and authorize the mayor and/or staff to sign as appropriate.
So
I'll
we-
answer any other questions.
Are there any more questions for our city manager? If not, we can get a motion to approve the contract for City Hall rehabilitation between the City of Madison Architectural Collaborative LLC/CE Garbett Construction Company to
So moved.
rehabilitate our City Hall.
So moved, because I think she's writing it down.
Second.
Are there any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed is none. Vote unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Manager, for that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
It's a contract, Whipsel Construction Richter Cottage repairs.
Yes, we bid this out. We got an estimate on the work that needed to be done at the Richter Cottage. You know, the Richter Cottage is down Wellington Street, beyond the construction project and beyond the new parking lot. It has been a city property for many, many years. It's in okay shape, but it's in dire need of some exterior work and a little bit of interior work. As you may remember, the Landmarks Society is a tenant in that building. They have a fabulous collection of artifacts, of exhibits, furniture. The Richter family pieces, I think, or some are on display down there, from small objects, everyday objects, to photographs. The Landmarks does a fantastic job of occupying, and they don't not open on a day-to-day basis as a house museum, but they're open often, tours and whatnot for that, and they're good stewards of that. But this is some siding work, replacing a good bit of siding on the building, window sashes that need to be replaced or repaired. There's a problem with the front sill, the main support under the front of the building up against the ramp that has to be done. And our sole bidder was Witzel Construction Company. Curtis Witzel has worked on that building before. He's done work on other city buildings before. He worked in this building and did the work next door in the Smith building. And I'm recommending approval. Again, this is a AIA document, a contract, an agreement between Witzel Construction Services and the City of Madison. And the amount on this one is $56,180. And I'll answer any questions about that.
Where is that expense hitting?
Hotel motel tax. Since it's a house museum, we hope there'll be enough in that. We may have to supplement it. We've always moved money out of hotel motel into general funds, but Karen tells me if we've been truing up lately, we may have had to move some back into that, but we do account for it in hotel motel, whether we have to supplement that a little bit lately with hotel motel tax receipts having been depressed over the past few years, 2 or 3 years.
Well, certainly Witzel is a company that we kind of all know, and when it comes to historic preservation, they seem to be one of the best, so I'm happy with that. Do you think the fact that the number is relatively low at $56,000, that's why he was the only bidder?
No, I put it on the, I got several requests. I sent out the specs were like a 2-page document. It was no need in hiring an architect to do this. It pretty much was what it was as far as the description, but I had a couple of inquiries. I sent it out. But to be perfectly honest with you, I think contractors are just as busy as they want to be.
Yeah.
And for this type of specialty work, for this type of, tear it back, and you commented about the process of taking good quality siding that matches the old historic, priming it on 4 sides, or, edges, back, front, installing it properly, taking care to put back windows appropriate to the building. That's a kind of a niche business, and this size project is not attractive to a lot of folks. And when Curtis is scaling back, I think he's told us or told me that he's scaling back and kind of changing his business model, and I hate to see that, because he does things in a way that sometimes it's tough to find a contractor that appreciates doing it that way, even knows how to do it that way. Right. It's kind of old school materials a lot of times, or techniques, or it's not everybody knows how to work around an old building and kind of get back to where things are done correctly.
And the
Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry, just one final question if I could.
Sure.
So it's a 90-day completion. Do we know when the start date would be for
I
that?
think it would be within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
I'm thinking that's the case, yes, sir. The lead time may be getting materials, windows or something, but we.
All right, thank you.
Get that done. Thank you.
Mr.
How
Mayor, may
is
I
the
ask
tra-
one thing?
How's the traffic on that end as far as it being, visitors?
I'm not sure. I know, I'm pretty sure it's probably on the walking tour map, but I'm not sure how many people walk down and kind of peer down in that direction. I think with the new construction and the new streetscape, the street lighting that'll be there, maybe when the cottages come in along, that may pull some people on down, depending on how those lots get used, what the final use, whether they're residential or residential, commercial or professional or whatever they are. I think that will have a lot to do and say about that. There's a lot of walking traffic just because that's the main route from, the Canaan neighborhood,
Right.
Pearl Street, Martin Street, Garnett, and the Canaan back into town.
Councilmember Reed, you going to say something?
Hold on a minute.
Come on,
Okay,
Carrie, you're not. as
I
old as you
remember.
are.
Are we doing any work inside of the Richter Cottage?
A little bit. There are a couple, like a display window inside that they want to light and they want to clean up and they want to have it hinged so they can clean it.
Right.
There's a door, an attic door that is rather large that is kind of hidden because it's not just a cutout kind of thing. That's
Right.
where the air conditioning system is. That needs some new hinges.
Okay.
So a few things inside, but nothing substantial. The building's in pretty good shape.
Good.
It is what it is. It's,
Right. Historical.
It's historic, that's right, not any fancier than it needs to be.
And it's in situ also, is it not?
It is.
Which is getting harder.
It's
to
harder,
find.
that's right. It is.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
and this is just a question from the standpoint of contracts. When you write out, it says, written out, it's $56,180. That should be 56,000, comma.
Oh, so they messed up the,
They let, and.
left 1,000 out.
Yeah, the only reason I'm bringing that up is, from what I understand with, like, real estate contracts, when you have to write it out like that, the written,
Is what carries the day.
it carries
wow.
it,
I
so.
didn't catch that.
I will make sure that we,
I didn't either.
that is changed to their benefit and to have the mayor initial that page and then let him know that. But that's just a typo. But
Yeah.
thank you for that
I just
catch.
wanted to make sure that
No, we don't-
they're properly getting paid.
We wouldn't catch them that way anyway.
Sounds like you've been on the losing end of one of those deals in the past.
Actually,
I
I've been
didn't
on the
catch
winning end of one of those in the
Oh,
past.
okay. There you go. I should have known that.
We'll get that fixed. Thank you for that.
If there are no more questions for our city manager, we can get this contract with Whistler Construction, Richter Cottage repairs for $56,180 approved.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll be glad to make that motion.
Second.
There any more discussion? All in favor, show of hands. Opposed, none. That vote were. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for your time and your attention. And one project rather small, one project rather large.
All benefit our city.
All to the good.
All
And
to
thank
the
you.
good. I
Thank you
love
for
it.
your time this morning.
I'd just like to tell our council member who was not at our meeting on Monday night with the Canaans, so many people called me after that and said, I didn't know that there was going to be a meeting
I forgot.
Including me.
at City Hall, and, but we had a few people, Kid and I were here, and they was very questionable, they got a lot of information, and Terry Earhart said he was willing to come back maybe sometime in December, just before they start taking applications, so I'm gonna talk with our city manager and Monica and Ken and see if we can get them back, for one more time, because they did have a lot of information to give out. Very, very good information.
And
Thank you,
what-
Mr. Mayor. I completely forgot. I think when I looked at the clock, it was like 7:55. And I was like, really? So when they come back in December, please make sure I get reminder, please,
Well, one of
Ashley.
Mr. Mayor and I were talking earlier this morning, one of the suggestions I have is maybe at the end of our work sessions, that we have the opportunity to kind of go around the table and remind each other of meetings like that, because
Yes.
I didn't know about that meeting, I missed it in the newspaper,
Right.
so I felt kind of bad when Judy saw it on Facebook after the fact, and
Yes.
so that might be a good thing we can sort of add on a regular work session agenda, is here's meetings that I know that are coming up, and whether it's a city planning and zoning meeting that is of interest, or an opening of the tot lot,
Right.
because there's so many things going on, it's easy to miss them.
Thank you. Are there any more comments from our council member this morning? Yes,
One
sir.
quick, I sent out an email about street paving.
Uh-huh.
We haven't got this year's stuff done.
Right.
And I asked you a question, and Burn Street's we already paved.
Yeah, and I was gonna reply back, but I said, well, maybe David's
No,
mind is like
well,
mine.
because we did that the year before, and it's hadn't been updated on my list, or it may have been done,
We did.
after the county did the grading or something, it was 2 years ago or something.
Yes, 2
Yeah.
years.
But anyway, Pearl Street's on the list.
Pearl.
Pearl and,
We're waiting on Hugh,
and
so
a
we
bunch
still
of
haven't
other-
hit like Hugh and all the.
a lot of other small streets, but
Yes.
as I said in my email, I went straight down the county's list of our worst streets that they graded, and it's a lot of small streets that don't pop up, but we need to go ahead and get them done. So if you have any ideas or comments, I'm going to get that in before the end of the year to DOT.
Okay. I'll
Thank
look
you,
at
sir.
the rest some more.
If there's nothing else to come before this council, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw the apartments on Carriage are on
those
there.
streets.
I didn't realize there's two different street names,
Yeah,
Carriage Way.
you drive in there, there's a little